All right, let's welcome in Justin Thomas. Justin, thank you so much for joining us, man. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Just to provide a little bit background, Justin and I actually met not too long ago. I was at the Coach K's final home game in Cameron, the Duke UNC game, and I'm standing up early in the first half, and I look over towards the UNC bench, and there's this guy standing up. I'm like, wow, man, that guy looks a lot like Justin Thomas. But he was sitting with Mike Dunleavy and Bob Myers and a Duke friend of mine, Kevin Marchetti. And I'm like, I'm not placing why Justin Thomas is with these people.
Well, I guess it's fitting.
I know. Well, it turns out, yeah. Kevin Linear Logistics is your sponsor on your shirt. So it all makes sense. And we met back in the where they had the banquet after the game or whatever.
Yeah.
So
I quickly found out I'm no longer invited to Cameron Indoor for a Duke UNC game 0-1.
Here's the thing, though. I lost that game. They lost that game when I was there. They lost the ACC championship when I was there, and they lost in the Final Four when I was there. So There was a smattering on the interwebs that I also was not allowed at games anymore.
There were people who didn't want JJ to go to the Final Four game before the game, and then how it ended up. I think
that's perfect. So it's your fault, not mine. I like that a lot more.
Yeah, I'll take the blame on that one. You recently, let's just start. We should start with your recent major win, the 2022 PGA Championship. And there's some amazing moments from that round, but I'm curious about your mindset going into that final round. Day of, you're down 7, you're 7 strokes off the lead. Like, what is your mentality? I'm sure you've been in that position many times before and never had the epic comeback you did. Mm-hmm. What is your mentality in those situations?
It's it's different every time, to be perfectly honest. You have sometimes where you go out there and you're like, all right, let's go post a number, see what happens. There's days where you're like, man, I don't feel like anything good's going to happen here. And some days where you're in the middle, but I was probably in the middle of that. I knew the thing I had going for me is there was only, I think, 6 guys in front of me, and being 7 back, but only a couple of guys in front of you is a huge difference of being 7 back and being, in 17th or 18th place. Like I have to pass a lot of people versus, only the guys that I had in front of me. And it's very different doing that at a major versus, I don't want to say a regular tournament, but a regular tournament where, potentially 15, 18, 20 unders winning, I'd have to go out and shoot 61 or 2 to have a chance at being 7 back. But I definitely didn't think the 3 under would have gotten me in a playoff at the start of the day. But sometimes when you least expect it is when it happens. And that was definitely the case that day.
We were talking with Draymond the other day about the comfort level you have as like a champion. They felt this down 2-1 in that series. Mm-hmm. About they've done this before, so even if their back's against the wall, they sort of know what it takes. Did you feel that having won already? Did you feel a level of like, okay, I am, whether or not I'm playing well, I'm comfortable with where I am right now?
Yeah, it definitely was a situation of I've been there and I've done this before. I think all the guys that were in front of me they definitely hadn't won a major, and I don't think they'd won a tour event either. So I knew I was going to be nervous, but I knew that they were going to be just as, if not more nervous. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just the fact of the matter. It's a major championship. We all want to win, and it's a big deal. And I definitely went into my thinking and my thought process and just trying to stay patient and just kind of plot my way around and try to take advantage of the opportunities when I had them, kind of thing.
You mentioned on this particular day only having a few guys in front of you. And I've always wondered this, and I'm sure it's different for every guy, but are you thinking in that scenario about the difference in money between 7th place, 3rd place, 2nd place? Like, does that ever pop into your head prior to the final round, going into a tournament, even on the course? Does it ever come into your head?
It's never come into my head. No, not in the only time I've thought legitimately about money on the golf course is the FedEx Cup. When you get down to the end, I've had a couple like 5 to 7 footers on 18 that are $1 million or $2 million swing. And like, obviously that's nerve wracking. It's a different kind of nerve wracking, but, yeah, I would trade 5 years ago winning the tour championship, as long as I still won the FedEx Cup, whatever, but without winning the money, like I would trade that. I just, the more tournaments you win, the more accolades you have, the farther up you are in history books, whatever. But and I'm also very fortunate to where I played well, where I don't have to worry about that as much as maybe others. But I don't know. It hasn't been a thing of mine, and I'm glad it hasn't, because it is stressful.
I was friends with some golfers when I lived in Orlando, and I won't name the golfer, but my buddy went to a tournament with his wife, and the final round, she was walking around with a Tiffany catalog, and as he made or missed putts, was circling items and crossing items out. So I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure for some golfers, especially if you're grinding and you're not very high on the money list, like, one tournament, one big round on a Sunday can completely swing things.
For sure. And I can't fully speak on her behalf, but for my fiance, Julian, I can definitely say that she's never done that. She can confirm. She can confirm.
You said fiance. You said fiance. Yes. Just wait, Justin.
That's a good point. But I do have a funny story. I got an exemption into Jack's event, the Memorial, my first year as a pro. So it would have been 2014. And I was on the web.com, then now Corn Ferry Tour. And I was playing, I was having a good season. I was, looking like I was going to have a good chance to get my card, and there was an off week, and that's why I played in Jack's event. And I was playing pretty well. And obviously the purses are significantly different between the two tours even then. And I was playing pretty well. It's kind of around 20th place, something like that. And I doubled 18 on Sunday. So I finished like 35th, 37th, something like that. But I mean, I think it cost me, 35, 40 grand, call it. And my mom texted me the next day, and it was like, good playing last week. That double on 18 cost you, $37,000 or whatever it was. And I was like, I appreciate that, Mom. Don't ever send me another text like that again. And we joke about it, but she's like, I didn't mean it like that. Like, I just meant it like you're playing for that much money. Like, that's cool. And you won that much. I'm like, oh no, that's fine. But just don't ever text me anything like that again.
JJ, do you think we talked about this with Jason Tatum a little bit with the All NBA teams, but are there other things like that with NBA guys where it's like, oh, if I hit this, like, are they thinking about if I hit this three and I pass this thing in my contract, I'm getting X? Or is it kind of like you realize it after the fact and you're like, shit, I should have thought about that before?
I think I've admitted this before, but the only time I ever thought about this, and I think really the only similar scenario where essentially the prize money, the purse, is like set in stone, is the draft. And so when I was getting drafted, I had the range, somewhere between 7 or 8 and 14. And so I went online and I found out what each draft pick would make in their rookie year, second year, third year, fourth year, the life of the contract or whatever. And yeah, part of the reason I was like, I really want to go to Houston at 8 is because I would make a lot more money than if I went to Utah at 14. Now, once I got in the league, I realized it's just really all about fit. And in that small of a range, it's not. If you end up playing 15 years, that is not going to make or break your finances or your career. So it was more about fit. But that was the only other time, or the only time that I ever thought about that.
Well, yeah, I think it's obviously very situational where you're at in your career and everything. I mean, I know I qualified for the U.S. Open that same year that I was on the Corn Ferry. And so got in, played a practice round. And I mean, Rick and Jordan were good buddies of mine, just like they are now. And Jordan was like, hey, do you want to get a money game on Tuesday? We play with Phil sometimes. And I was like, yeah, sure. Like, I'll do that. And he's like, okay, well, just letting you know, like, we're going to play for a lot of money. I was like, okay, it'd be fun. It's going to be a cool atmosphere for me, and go out there. And there's literally more people on a Tuesday that have ever watched me play golf in my entire life. And Jordan and I end up beating him and Rick. And I think we won like $2 or $3 grand. And I joked while whoever it was that paid me, I was like, this is like a 13th place on the tour that I play on right now. So thank you guys a lot.
In the playoff at Southern Hills, your shot on 17 iconic moment now. It will be forever. It's etched in time as an iconic golf shot. And what I liked about it particularly was the club twirl. And as someone who's hit probably millions of golf balls over the course of your life, how does someone learn just to do a club twirl? Like, is that something you have to practice? Is that something that comes naturally just from flushing shots? Did you know ahead of time, if I hit this on the green, I'm going to club twirl? Like, what's the process of the club twirl?
I don't think I've ever I've gone into, you very rarely, occasionally will get into situations or zones or modes where you're like, I'm going to make this putt. Like, it's more so in team events. Like, I'm going to make this putt, and like, what kind of celebration am I going to do to kind of pump the crowd up kind of thing. But I've never like gone into a shot like, I'm going to hit this and I'm going to club twirl, do it. Like, it's just, I don't know, man. It's one of those things that just, you get caught up in the moment, and it's kind of like, the ball's in the air, and you can kind of, and as it's going, it's almost like the wave of the noise. It's like the people further and further up are starting to see it, and they're kind of starting to catch drift, and they're starting to make noise. And then you got the people in the bleachers, and they're starting to like see the ball come down, and they start getting louder. And that's kind of when you're there, and you're just like, uh-oh, this might be nice, and just kind of let it go. And I've definitely had club twirls before that have not panned out good, and I look like an idiot. But no, I mean, you got to commit to it. You got to go all in or not.
There's a great YouTube video, which is just your favorite on-course reactions, and it's probably like 7 minutes long, and it's just you reacting to different things. Have you done that since you were a kid, or is it something that's like developed?
I think a lot of it is, Tiger had a lot to do with that. The mannerisms and the outward emotion, the sarcastic, dramatic follow-throughs, just all that kind of stuff. I think I know. Growing up, I watched them. So when you're watching your idol, you naturally want to do what your idol and your role model does. So it's, I would say that has to do a lot with it. And then it just has kind of evolved into something.
Do you follow a lot of the sort of meme golf accounts on Instagram?
I don't. I see a handful of them. I usually just get sent them, but
okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of them. There's one called Golf Douchebag that I follow, and
it's you, isn't it? It's a burner. Is that a burner?
It's my burner account.
This is an alter ego. Is that a burner?
No, believe me. On a golf course, I'm the opposite of whatever this guy is describing. And club twirling is one of those things. Do you have any like don'ts for golf etiquette? And maybe it's different if you're golfing with amateurs on a non-tournament, and then versus the pros. I'm just curious. Do you have don'ts for golf etiquette?
So I guess what I would ask is that like a don't for a person that I'm playing with, a don't for me to do, a don't for the guys. I'm like you said, if us three go play, like I have a don't for you guys, or if it like me, Jordan Spieth, and Ricky Fowler, the final round of a major, like don't. You know what I'm saying? Like what is the? I
guess it's just like they're a general sort of thing. I don't want to use like a pet peeve, but a general sort of thing that really, to use a Peter Griffin line, really grinds your gears on the golf course that someone does.
I don't. And I mean, I definitely talk more than I would like, whether it's to my golf ball or to Bones or whatever it is. But you're sometimes going to get to play with guys that like feel like they need to like explain their shot to you. And there's just sometimes when I want to be like, hey, dude, I don't know if you know this, but like, I don't give a shit. Like I'm trying to beat you this week, and to be perfectly honest, I wish it would have gotten a worse bounce and gone in the water. Like I don't know what you want me to say, but it doesn't happen often. But there's definitely some guys and sometimes that it's just like, God, I thought I hit that good, and like, did you see that wind gust it got? And then like kicked back in the bunker, and I just want to be like, I know, I saw it. How much
of that do you think is gamesmanship versus like obliviousness?
Oblivious. It's oblivious for sure. I don't think anybody on tour has the swag to be able to pull that off of like legit gamesmanship.
I think that's a little bit part of golf culture, because even really bad amateurs like myself, we like to talk about what just happened, even after a round, we'll describe shots
hole
that
by
happen.
hole.
And like sometimes I'm not in the mood and I'll be like, dude, yeah, I was there on 7.
Yeah.
I remember your approach. Yeah, no, I got it. Like it was good. Yeah, we don't need to talk about it anymore, But like I get what you're saying. I can see where, especially for like a professional golfer who is not operating, and maybe the Ryder Cup is much different in that sense, but a professional golfer is not operating in a team sport, other than your caddy, of course, and your coaches. But I'm saying like in the arena, on the field, on the course, you are operating on your own. And to get the color commentary of a guy you're trying to beat, I find that to be hilarious that guys actually do that on tour.
It does, and it doesn't happen often, but it could just be one of those things where it's like just one of those days that they're in one of those moods, but it definitely happens from time to time. And who knows, I could be guilty of it. I hope I'm not, because I clearly don't love it that much. So if anybody out there hears that I've done that, I'm sorry.
How often, I'm sure you have a lot of obligations, appearances, events with your sponsors and your brand partners where you have to go play golf with certain people. I most likely do a lot of charity stuff. How many rounds per year do you think by choice you play with shitty golfers like myself? Like how many rounds per year? Does it happen 3 times?
Choice.
Does it
That's
happen 10
question.
times? I'm just curious. And can I be in the next round?
I mean, they can't even get mad because they're so bad. But like my family, when they come for Christmas, like, I mean, it's a disaster out there. So, and I like going to play with them, but it's usually you got to have some beers going. Otherwise it can be a long day. I'm going to go with probably 15-ish.
Okay.
Is my guess. Okay. Off the top of my head. Yeah.
How do you, I mean, I don't want to sidetrack too much, but I'm really curious about this too. It's just one of the only sports where this actually happens. Like JJ will never play pickup. He'll never go and just play with random people. He's just not going to do it. Obviously baseball, football, it's just not a realistic thing for it to happen. Even tennis, I feel like not really. So it's like, how do you even approach how you're playing if you're just playing with some people who are just not in the same stratosphere?
It is odd. I mean, the idea of pro-ams is a weird thing, like the day before we're getting ready to go out and play for a tournament. Like we always make the comparison or the analogy of like, all right, LeBron, hope the finals go well tomorrow, man. But like, you're going to have to go play pickup with this guy that has played basketball like 5 times in his life, but have fun.
Yeah, put a smile on your face. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I guess it's different. You're not necessarily playing against them, but it is odd, but it's also, I've been very fortunate. Like I truly don't mind them as long as the amateurs understand, like they do pay a lot of money and they are the sponsors of our tournaments, but like, I'm not out there to try to shoot a 62. Like I'm first off, that's usually my practice round. So I'm trying to get a feel for the course, but like, I just want to have fun. Like I want to be able to talk trash with them. I want to be able to, if they're successful business people, I want to hear about their story or maybe any advice that they have, or play with some athletes, talk to them about what they do. So it is an odd thing when you come to comparing it to other sports, but I've definitely met some very fascinating people through it.
Here's the other interesting thing about golf that's different. If you're a guy who's into baseball and maybe does a weekly softball game in New York City, you don't get to go then play at Yankee Stadium, or you can't like go play pickup at MSG. But I can say like, oh, there's this amazing course down south that hosts a major every year.
Yeah.
And like I can go down and walk on the same ground, play the rounds, play the same holes that, I remember Tiger's chipping here on, whatever. Like that's what I think is so cool about golf is be able to walk on into these places that have such history. And we can't recreate the shots you did, but to get an idea of how incredible these shots are. I would love to do that someday on 17. I haven't been to Southern Hills yet. I'd love to go there and actually see the angle you had.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those things that's very unique and cool about golf, to where, like you said, people that are lucky enough to go play Augusta can go check out some of those shots. Or like you think of a place like a Torrey Pines, it's a public golf course. and the amount of people that have hit that putt that Tiger had on 13 on Saturday from the back of the green to the front of the green. It's like little stuff like that. That's it definitely, and how close we are to the fans even when we're out there. I mean, there's a lot of things I think that make our sport so unique and cool and different, but also very, very relatable. Because although we are great, unbelievable players and we can hit a lot of shots and do a lot of things that people can't, we also hit a lot of bad ones and a lot of shots that, you know, you could go out there and hit better. Whereas like, I can never do anything that other athletes could do in their respective sport. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I could get a hit in baseball, but I couldn't do it consistently. And I sure as hell couldn't hit a homer off of an actual pitcher. You know what I mean? So it's stuff like that that's really cool.
Listen, man, you brought it up. I'm not throwing shade here, but it is amazing to start a major down 7 strokes and shank a ball in that round and then come back and win. I mean, that the juxtaposition of those, like your shot on 17 and that shot, that's, to me, that's what makes golf so incredible.
You just put them just side by side and just watch the shot tracers. One goes like this and the other one just is out of screen within a couple seconds.
You mentioned the zone, being in the zone, and just knowing I can execute this shot. I'm about to execute this shot. And I think every athlete feels that at different points. We don't feel it every night. I'm sure you don't feel it every round. I'm sure you don't feel it on every hole. You know, it's just like it comes and goes. But when you're in the zone, it's a really special feeling. You're one of several guys that has shot a 59 on tour. Is that the best round you've ever shot? Period.
In relation to score,
yeah. Yes.
I think
yeah.
I feel that I've had rounds that are better, like I've played better than that. But yeah, in relation.
That's kind of what I was going to ask you about, because I think there is a similarity too. You know, you guys go by, you know, your low score, we go by career high for points, you know?
Yeah.
But I would probably say my career high for points, and even some of my high scoring games weren't my best games that I played. You know, there's the opponent, there's the situation. Maybe it's a playoff game. Maybe it's a must-win regular season game.
Yeah.
Whatever it may be. For you, it could be a major versus a tournament in February in Florida or whatever. What do you think, if you had to, off the top of your head, and I wish I'd asked you this beforehand, off the top of your head, what is the best round of golf that you've played professionally?
Honestly, the round, the 69 I shot at the Players this year was one of the best rounds I've ever had. I think when you do that, at least for the most part, I would say golfers, their best round would be a round where they shot, you know, kind of a 64 or 5 or 6, but they beat the scoring average maybe by like, you know, 5 or 8 or something that for that day. I mean, I shot 65 the first round at Winged Foot. I mean, and that was like the easiest, one of the best tee to green, like just as easy as a 65 is going to get at Winged Foot, which is one of the hardest courses I've played. It's, I mean, something like that. Yeah, that's all I can kind of think of. I might text you. I might think on that and text you if I can come up with another one.
All right.
When did you realize how far you could drive? Like, how old were you?
Well, I didn't really start hitting it like far until college. I've always been really small, so I've just swung as hard as I could to get the most I could out of it. And I mean, that's just something my dad taught me. And then once I started to grow a little bit, I mean, in high school, I hit it, I would say average, and then maybe a little bit further than average, kind of like come the end of high school. But then, you know, once I actually started working out a little bit and getting a little bit stronger and was able to add some club head speed for the technique that I had and how hard that I swung, it was just starting to add up to some distance. So I would say kind of end of high school, college is when I started to, I mean, I've never been the longest, but since then I've been, I would say, above average in length.
I'm very curious about young Justin Thomas. You played in a PGA tour event when you were in high school. I think it was 2009. I'm more curious about the psyche of Justin Thomas at that age. And Tommy mentioned obliviousness. And I'm just, what was your mentality going into that tournament?
Oh man. I mean, I was excited just because I'd grown. I mean, I shouldn't say my whole life. I was only 16, but like I'd grown up watching the PGA Tour and wanting to play in a PGA Tour event. And then I was lucky enough to win a tournament that got me an exemption into it. So, I mean, I just was excited to be like at the same place in the same range and the same dining, the same locker room as all these PGA Tour pros. And I mean, these are the people that I watch on TV every single week and practice on the range, hoping that I'm going to be beating in however many years. So to me, it was definitely an experience and like really cool first, but my hard-headed, stubborn 16-year-old self was expecting to play really well and wouldn't accept anything other than playing really well. That was another one of my, I would say, better rounds. That first round, I shot 65 there, which when I look back at it, I had no business doing it and was so completely blackout to shoot 65 as a 16-year-old in a tour event. But it was an unbelievable week, to say the least.
I think there's like a varying degree of, it's not confidence, it's just realism when you're that age about when you're really good about whether or not you will end up becoming a pro.
Yeah.
I was always very realistic. You know, by the time I hit 16 or 17, I was like, it's an outside chance. You know, maybe if I get better, if I get stronger. But I knew kids that I played AAU with that were convinced, and a lot of them, the ones that were convinced, didn't make it, and there were some that were convinced that did make it. What did you think after that tournament? Because it's obviously the process to get a card is very different.
Yeah.
But what was the after effect of that?
Well, it took my confidence from really high to really, really, really high. I mean, you can ask my parents, you can ask my friends. It was always golf or nothing. I think it's a very kind of a stereotypical or a normal question to get in high school. It's like, oh, well, what are you going to do? Be like, oh, well, I'm going to play golf. Be like, okay, well, if that doesn't work out, what are you going to do? I'm like, no, I don't think you understand. Like, I'm going to play golf. That's what I'm going to do. And I wasn't going to do anything else. And I wasn't going to accept not succeeding in it. It just, I don't know, it was my life. And I just loved it so much. And I wanted to play a sport. It was the only sport I was good at. That's for sure. But I don't know. I think how that week turned out or kind of worked its way throughout the week, and playing well that first round kind of gave me the confidence that, like, if I can do this at 16, then I have to have some kind of chance of doing this as a career kind of thing.
Did you find the process when you decided to turn pro and do Q School and web? I think it was web.com at the time, right? When you were in it?
Yeah. So I went through Q School to I had 6 rounds of Q School that got me to web.com, and then I played a year on the web.com, and then that got me my PGA Tour card.
Yeah. For someone that was in it fairly quickly, I'm sure you golfed against guys that grind on that for years or that go through Q School multiple times. Are there separators besides obviously talent? Like, are there separators? I'm sure there's some really talented golfers that you saw or that you know of over the last 10 years that just can't seem to get over the hump. And then there's guys that maybe aren't as talented that do.
For sure. I mean, the 2 of my college teammates were 2 of the best players I've ever played with or against, Bobby White and Corey Whitsett. I mean, they were 2 All-Americans. I think they were both number 1 amateurs in the world at one point. I mean, Bobby had the low 36 hole scoring record at the USAM at one point. I don't know if he still does. And Corey won a USG. I mean, it was how many events are they going to win? Not, are they going to be on tour? And it just was, I mean, look at, obviously Jordan's panned out pretty well, but he didn't get through Q School. I mean, it's a long, grueling thing, and all it takes is one bad round or one bad week, and you don't get through, and then you don't play well in the events that you need to play well in, and then it's like you got to start all over the next year. So it's a grueling process, and that is, again, going back to what we said earlier, another thing that I think that makes golf unique. It's, although you might be dealt a little bit better cards and have a better opportunity to play in some events, but at the end of the day, everybody is realistically going to start from the same place, and you have to work your way up. And I think at that point, it just becomes a will and a mental aspect, and just kind of, prioritizing things. I mean, there's many fun things that I've missed out on, whether it's with my friends or family, or things that I wanted to do that I just had to make a sacrifice because golf was and is my life. And if I can't make any complaints about not getting to where I want to go if I don't put in all the effort that I need to.
We all have our favorite go-tos, right? Shirts, sweaters, jeans, the stuff you wear all the time. I mean, I certainly do. Well, I was getting dressed this morning and realized all my go-tos are from Buck Mason. Buck Mason's clothes are second to none. They're timeless and never go out of style. Everything I own fits great right out of the box and becomes my new favorite already.
Agreed, JJ. Buck Mason makes all the essentials: jeans, shirts, jackets, and so much more. I love the tailored look and fit of their t-shirts. Even after wearing them and putting them through wash after wash, they look just as good as when I first wore them.
The curved hem tee is fantastic. GQ loves it as much as I do, calling it the best t-shirt in the game. It's pretty simple. Their stuff just feels great and looks amazing. Once you try Buck Mason, they'll become your go-tos too. Head over to buckmason.com/OM3 and get 15% off when you spend at least $100. That's buckmason.com/OM3 to get 15% off when you spend at least $100. buckmason.com/OM3. Every night we're faced with the same question. What do I want to eat? Maybe a home-cooked favorite, but that means you have to trek to the store. Or maybe something exciting and new, but who wants to get out of their comfy clothes and get dressed to go out? Well, DoorDash connects you with everything you want, whenever and however you want it. Get what you want to eat right now and right to your door with DoorDash. Along with the restaurants you love, you can now get groceries and other essential items delivered with DoorDash. Get drinks, snacks, and other household items in under an hour.
With over 300,000 partners, you can support your neighborhood go-tos or choose from your favorite national restaurants like Popeyes, Chipotle, and Cheesecake Factory. Ordering is super easy, and your items will be left safely outside your door when you choose contactless delivery drop-off.
For a limited time, our listeners can get 25% off and zero delivery fees on their first order of $15 or more when you download the DoorDash app and enter code JJ. That's 25% off up to $10 value and zero delivery fees on your first order when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter code JJ. That's an insane deal. Don't forget, that's code JJ for 25% off your first order with DoorDash. Subject to change, terms apply.
We were talking about Tiger earlier and just how you idolized him growing up. Do you have any favorite stories with him, like on a personal level?
Yeah, I've been very fortunate to spend, a lot of time with him and just, I try to pick his brain as much as I can. And at the same time, I understand, that he still wants to play and he's not going to give me all of the secrets just yet. I've probably gotten more out of or enjoyed more us just kind of being around a chipping green or a putting green and just having contests or hitting different shots and kind of explaining how I do it, maybe him explaining how he does it or different ways he does it and then different ways I do it. And just, I think that's where the competitive and the artistic side of guys can come out and we're able to pick up on stuff versus us just sitting at a table and me saying like, hey, when you were trying to do this, what were you thinking? And it's like, oh, okay, I just write that down and it doesn't just like go into my brain. It's more the visual and like going through the motions and just having fun and trying stuff, I think is what I've learned the most.
You grew up in Tiger's prime. Do you have a favorite Tiger memory from that era?
I'm a little biased to the 2000 PGA growing up in Louisville. So I was able to go to that tournament that week and my dad worked for the PGA. So I remember, being in the clubhouse and watching Tigers putt on 18 in regulation and hearing the roar outside before hearing it, the whatever the tiny tape delay was that's on TV. And so, yeah, like I said, I might be a little biased being a hometown event, but that was an unbelievable week and definitely another being 8 years old, a week that inspired me to like, I want to be doing those moments kind of thing.
How would you rank the majors?
Why, are you really going to put me on the spot like that?
No, I'm fucking with you, dude. I wouldn't do that to you.
PGA is clearly the hardest to win, but after that, no.
No, I'm just from y'all's perspective, is a major Or are there some? I think you guys have to talk about this, and you don't have to name the major, but I'm sure there has to be one where you're like, I mean, yeah, but you haven't won a Masters yet, or you haven't won an Open yet, or you haven't won the U.S. Open yet, or the PGA, whatever it may be. And then on top of that, of course, over the last whatever it is, 15 years, 16 years, we've got the FedEx Cup and the big check. So, what do you think? Is there a difference in what matters to players?
I think. I mean, for me, it's like they all, although at the end of the day, they all just require the best golfer that week, and you're going to need to have some stuff go your way, and you're going to need to just have some things happen. But to me, they're all very, very unique and different in terms I don't want to say what it says about a player to win, because anybody can win one, but what I feel like if I could write them all down and describe them, they'd be 4 different styles of players or 4 different players. I want to win an Open Championship so bad because I just truly feel like you have to be the most complete, total package player to win there because of the amount of creativity you have to have, the amount of shots you have to have, the amount of control of your ball flight, the spin, and also mentally dealing with the conditions. And then obviously the US Open is just so hard and so grueling, and being able to salvage and manage and get through a week in a US Open is a challenge in itself. And then you obviously have the Masters, which just has the aura and the history and and everything that's involved with winning the Masters that comes with it, and it's beyond a golf level. And then you obviously have the PGA, which is the deepest field that we play of any major. I mean, it consistently has the biggest or the most top 100 players of any tournament that we play in. That goes on such a variety of different golf courses, where you have years where it takes 15 under to win, and then you have some like this year where it's low single digits, and it truly just depends on how the PGA sets it up. So I know I'm not really answering your question, but it's to me, they're all so unique in different ways. And I would be hard pressed to say anybody would say, oh no, I don't want that one, I want this one. It's like, dude, just give me any of them. They're all great.
That's fair. I'm disappointed in your answer, but that's fair.
Sorry.
Can I ask a completely random question?
I know you have a favorite. Major, and I'm going to text you. I'm going to text you after we get off.
I was wondering this when I was thinking about the show earlier today. Why are there not more recent golf movies? Because some of the best sports movies of all time are golf movies.
I don't know. It's just like, I don't know what else you can do. I feel like our ceiling is only so high of like storylines you can have for golf. It's a pretty small.
I guess. What do you think, JJ?
I don't know.
I don't know the answer to that. I really don't.
I think they should have I think they should have a movie or just a documentary where they sit down with caddies and just let them tell their best stories, because there's nobody on planet Earth that has better stories than those caddies.
How important is a caddy?
Extremely important. I spend more time with Bones than I probably do anybody else. I mean, I'm out there with the guy for 6-7 days a week during tournament weeks, anywhere from 4 to 8 hours. Some days I have enough trust in him to ask him an opinion on something that has a tournament on the line, and I have enough trust in him to ask him all the decisions, whether it's a ball change, a club change, ask him advice on what, if I need to change something in my swing or whatever it is. Like they're there in the battle with us, and we win as a team and we lose as a team. And I think for me, that's something I respect about it, is it's just, we're out there together, we're out there battling together. And there's just, you pick who you have, and you got to be willing to fight for that person.
Do you have practice routines? Does it vary based on what tournament you're going to, what's going on with your body? Or are you just like same routine all the time?
I would say I'm fairly consistent with my routine in terms of like taking a couple of days off and then starting to practice. Say this is like an off week, starting to practice Wednesday. I'm working out 4 or 5 days that week. And then by the end of the week I'm playing. But the stuff that I'm specifically practicing and the stuff that I'm maybe working on the golf course or drills that I'm doing are going to be a little bit more specific to where I'm going or the things that I need to work on. So it's not like not on my off weeks on, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, I'm out there and I'm hitting, these putts for 30 minutes and then these putts for 20 minutes. And then I go hit balls for 45. It's just kind of like, all right, well, I need to work my wedge game a little bit because it's a short course, or the next week is a lot of 3 woods and 5 woods off the tee. So I'm going to hit a lot of those, that kind of thing.
What's the backstory on the Bakers Bay spring break from 2016 and 2017?
The backstory.
By the way, that was probably at the time.
That was a movie.
There we go.
At the time, that's probably the best thing. I mean, obviously some stuff with Tiger, but like off the course, that's probably like the best thing that ever happened on social media for golf. Like that was the greatest.
That was back when social media was fun too, and it wasn't so negative. The thing I think that made it as great as it was, that it was just real. Like it was all genuine. It wasn't like, oh, hold on, dude, like here, go do this and do that. Like I'm going to film it again. It's just like, all right, you're hitting your tee shot. Like I'm going to bring my beer up here. I'm going to bring my phone up here. Like just go ahead. Or I'm not even going to tell them, like you just hit. And there were definitely plenty of videos that didn't make it to the web that were for good reason, but it just was us being us. It's like if you got 3 of your best friends and you went on a trip, and like, it's so fun. I mean, I understand that different people or athletes or celebrities are held to a higher standard, but at the same time, like, look, I'm going to go on my trip. I'm going to go on a trip and I'm going to get drunk with my friends. Like I'm a human being. Like that's what I wanted to do. And that's what we did. And everybody just thought it was the greatest thing ever.
But that's why it was so cool, because it was so real. I mean, I did my first golf trip of my life last year to the Monterey Peninsula, and like I'm a cautious person in terms of what I post on social. Like I wish I could have posted all. I think that's what made it so cool. Is like, oh, these motherfuckers, like they don't give a fuck. They give 0 fucks.
And it wasn't like a text in our agents like, hey, we're gonna do this. We're just like, what do you think we just like throw everything on Snapchat this week? We're like, all right, cool, let's do it. We just did it, and then it was like every day it was like, oh my god, and then like get online, it was like, okay, yeah, this is a little bit more, and then like by the last day we felt like we were like obligated to do all of these things because of what people wanted to watch. So it was fun.
And that's you guys aren't doing that trip anymore the week after the Masters. That's
well,
done.
man, it's like, they got married.
You guys get
kids.
Married, fiance. Yeah, it just can't. Yeah. Such a disappointment.
Real life stuff nowadays.
We asked when Colin Morikawa was on the podcast around this time last year. Actually, we asked him if there was one course he could play for the rest of his life, only one. And he thought about it. He said, honestly, any Discovery property, which I think is a pretty spot on thing. I'm going to ask you the same question. If you only play one course, by the way, Bakers Bay is a Discovery property. If you don't know anything about Discovery properties, it's just fun golf. There's comfort stations. There's hidden Casamigos bottles all over the course. It's a good time.
That is tough. I mean, Bakers is 100% going to be of serious potential, but like a style of golf, like some kind of links course. Like, have you been to like a hoopy? I mean, something like that would be fun to me, or like, it's like anything over in Ireland, Scotland, like those. If I could somehow take like those crazy links, fun, creative golf courses and mix them with how the comfort stations and the not really having a dress code and you can play 10 people, like that's my course. So I'm going to create my own course, and that's the one I want to play.
Yeah, groups of 10, everybody gets their own golf cart, no shoes. I need those brisket tacos for sure. I have not played a hoopy. I was actually talking with somebody on Monday about it, who just went, and they were saying similar incredible praise. And I just finished Tom Coyne's a course called America, and he talks about a hoopy a lot in there, and it just sounds like an incredible place.
It is. It's a same sort of vibe. It's very laid back, and it's a great. I highly recommend a golf trip there, because it's quality golf, but the food's unbelievable. You stay on site, like it's a cool spot.
All right, I don't want to harp on this, but we got to talk about it. And you get asked about it a ton, and I saw what you said on no laying up, which you did recently, and I think one of the things you brought up was betrayal. And I've seen some of your quotes around the U.S. Open. You talked about, you actually used the word sadness. I think you said it makes you sad. Like if you had to sort of summarize it, like what is the biggest source of frustration, sadness, betrayal, anger? All the emotions that you and a bunch of other guys are going through right now.
I think, the number one thing is obviously anytime our tour or our product is going to be jeopardized. It's just, when I go down these kind of wormholes of thinking of what could be best case scenario, worst case scenario, and you start thinking about, an absolute doomsday worst case scenario and like not having an opportunity to play in the PGA Tour, the place that I have grown up and dreamed my entire life of playing. Like, yeah, that's sad. There's really no other way to describe it. But the upsetting and frustrating part comes from obviously, and there's so many guys where this makes so much sense for, the guys that are more so past the prime in their career, and the guys that do have families, and the guys that are playing 30 plus events a year to try and aren't in the majors, that are trying to, literally kind of keep income coming. It's like, this is an unbelievable opportunity for them. And that's great. But it's like the guys, that are doing great out here and have an opportunity to become Hall of Famers, be in the history books, and, be a part of this legacy that we're creating. And then going and saying it's for the better of the game. Like that's what drives me crazy. Like, I understand that the people behind the scenes are telling them and want them to say certain things, but it's like, as a man, I just wish that they would just come out and say, like, I'm doing this because I just got a bunch of cash. Like, it's very obvious and we all know that, but it's when you're talking to the person and they're saying one thing and then you see them go on and just kind of spew a bunch of bullshit. It's just a little frustrating.
At what point, and I know you talked about this a little bit already, at what point did you start to feel like this was a real thing? Like this was a thing that was going to affect potentially the future of the sport overall?
I think once DJ left, it all became very real, because it was, the first list that I think that they had came out wasn't exactly a list to brag about, you know what I'm saying? And it's just, again, it's more of the guys that had played on tour for a while, or guys that, people hadn't heard of, or whoever it was that, they had a field, but it wasn't anything close to the fields and anything that we had on tour. So, but once, I think once he left and then obviously some dominoes kind of fell behind him, is when it was just like, all right, like I don't want this to become a thing.
What did they offer you?
We'll talk about that in a second.
I'm just kidding. It is golf season for us regular folks too, and I do want to mention Justin has a skincare line, Wear SPF. I'm waiting on my shipment right now. I'm going to wear it my next round. So go check that out. Justin, man, we appreciate the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank y'all for having me on.
Thanks, bro.
Had a lot of fun. Thank you.
We'll see you guys soon.